Yo, this is the Scarcity Studios YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. And our sponsors at Alpha Claims and Hire Birmingham, the leading and best accident management company. Get a replacement car anywhere in 1 hour. I really appreciate you joining me today, and one of these stories comes from Preston, and there's an update to a story from Reading as well. £25 was all it took for a kid's life to have been taken. And it seems like nowadays kids just want to kill for the sake of killing. They just want the clout that they get from it. And in both of these cases, the teenagers that did the murders actually confessed themselves by recording themselves confessing. And this wasn't even in drill songs, this was just boasting about it. Before we talk about the main story in Preston, an update to a story that I covered earlier on in the year. Of course, I can't name the children that was involved in the case as they're under 18 years old. But a lot of blogs at the time felt free to just do that because they don't respect the legal process. And nowadays you have to respect the legal process so as not to interfere with any cases. In relation to the murder of Oliver Stevens, they have revealed in court now they have convicted the teenagers of his murder, two schoolboys, who ambushed the 13-year-old and stabbed him to death in a dispute that started on social media. Oliver Stevens suffered fatal stab wounds to his chest in the back of a field in Reading, Berkshire, on the 3rd of January. This year. He had been lured there by a girl, and then he was attacked by the two boys, and the girl, who's 14 years old, admitted manslaughter, and she was sentenced along with the two boys, who were both 14. None of them can be identified due to legal reasons. They say the killers fell out with Ollie because they believed he'd grassed on them, to the brother of a boy who they had mocked in a social media group chat. So that was it, that was literally it. A social media group chat, and now you've got someone being stabbed to death. Voice notes and text messages were presented in court in which the boys talked about taking revenge on Ollie. They said he'll actually get banged when I see him. Another said, I actually hate the kid with a passion. Like if I see him right now, I'll probably end up killing him. The girl was recruited to lure Ollie to Bugs Bottom Field, near to his home in Emma Green. This was part of a setup, the jury was told. They suggested the messages exchanged before the killing of Ollie described it as karma that was coming. The prosecution said he had no idea he was about to be attacked. This was an ambush, a planned attack that was designed to put him in a vulnerable position. One blade penetrated into Ollie's back and another went into his chest. An off-duty nurse walking her dog found the fatally injured teenager and tried to resuscitate him, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. The court heard the killers tried to dispose of evidence and the messages that they had sent on Snapchat. One of the boys described it as the biggest mistake of his life. Both boys were also convicted for perverting the course of justice. Ollie's family revealed in a statement that Ollie was actually autistic as well, and they'd only just started to teach him that this was actually a gift in his life and not something to be ashamed of. So we've got kids, teenagers, 14 years old, falling out over social media group chats and then using girls to lure them to secure locations to commit murder, which they discussed openly earlier on. So rest in peace to Ollie Stevens, and my condolences to his family. And hopefully somebody learns from that story. In this other story about Samad Al-Saidi, who was murdered in Preston 2 days before Christmas. A 19-year-old has been found guilty of his murder. Samad was stabbed in the chest and legs in a conservatory in Chatham Place on the 23rd of December 2020. He was taken to hospital and died 2 days after Christmas. Jamie Dixon, 19 years old, was found guilty unanimously on the 27th of July at Liverpool Crown Court. Detectives launched an investigation into the murder, which revealed that individuals who carried out the frenzied attack were Dixon, who is 19, and a 16-year-old who cannot be named for legal reasons. They were assisted by a 17-year-old boy who can also not be named for legal reasons. And this is another reason why a lot of these cases go without much media coverage, due to the fact there's never any images or names even sometimes released. But due to murderers in the UK getting younger and younger, I'm wondering if that's something they may change in the future. A judge at Liverpool Crown Court said that the fatal attack took place and the 17-year-old had texted Samad to find out his location under the guise of arranging to meet to discuss a £25 debt. The 17-year-old, who himself entered the conservatory with a baseball bat, convinced Samad to lay down a machete that he was holding. He then phoned his co-conspirators and told them that it was okay to come through and Sarmad didn't have a weapon. They received the signal and Sarmad was unarmed when Dixon and the 16-year-old arrived with masks on and went into the conservatory and stabbed the defenceless victim with a hunting knife and a machete. Dixon and the 16-year-old fled the scene with their weapons around 2 minutes after they had entered the conservatory, and the 17-year-old stayed at the scene and pretended to not know the identity of Sarmad's attackers, at one point even asking a witness to lie and say the baseball bat wasn't his. Around 15 minutes after the attack, Dixon received a phone call from a friend at a youth offenders institution. On this phone call, he boasted that he had done Sarmad, which is a term for having killed him. Detectives later retrieved a video from the 16-year-old's phone that was recorded on the day of the attack, where the defendant is waving around the murder weapon and saying, "I stabbed Sarmad up." Evidence secured by officers showed the attack had been planned for a number of days, and the 17-year-old, who was initially treated as a witness, gave a statement to police saying that he was chilling in the conservatory with Sarmad when two unknown males came in and stabbed his friend. He was arrested on Christmas Day and initially gave a similar account to the police, before then changing his statement and saying that he knew Dixon and the 16-year-old were the attackers, but they acted on their own volition and he didn't support them. Automatically, he's going to face a hard time against the jury due to the fact that he's now changed his story, and to the police, any sort of change of story is going to look guilty. Dixon answered no comment in his Christmas Eve interview. A Liverpool Crown Court jury unanimously found Dixon guilty of murder, and the 17-year-old was found not guilty of murder, but guilty of conspiracy to commit Section 18 assault. Dixon from Leyland and the 16 and 17-year-old will be sentenced on September the 30th. DCI Lee Wilson from Lancashire Police Force Major Investigation Team said the gratuitous and senseless violence has led a family to be robbed of their child. The courage and dignity has to be respected for Sarmad's parents, and they welcomed the decision from the jury to find him guilty. One of Sarmad's best friends, Safyan Akhtar, 18, told a blog after his death that Sarmad was one of the most giving people that he knew, and he always used to want to give back to poorer countries. Following his death, they raised more than £6,000 to build wells in different countries in the name of Sarmad. And this brought great comfort to his friends and family, and was definitely something positive to have took from a horrible story that people have taken this so far for no reason whatsoever. The fact these kids, the first thing they thought of doing after they did this murder was actually take a video and talk about it, shows the actual levels of immaturity, and the fact that these kids are not planned gang members. They're not plotting these murders with any sort of chance of getting away with it. They're just committing acts of violence for the sheer sake of it sometimes, and in other cases for very pathetic reasons. So my condolences to the family of both of these boys, and hopefully, like I said, there's a lot of things to take from this and a lot of lessons to see. Hopefully not make the same mistakes. So I really appreciate you joining me today. Please don't forget to join us on the website at scarcitystudios.com for the latest updates